Hi, today we're going to learn about concept mapping. And some of your peers are reading the book Bold School, which I highly suggest for a summer read for those of you that want to ease into implementing blended learning strategies in your classroom and using tech tools intentionally. It's a fantastic book. Um, so today, concept maps, they're different from graphic organizers in that a graphic organizer is a tool. And concept mapping is a strategy. It's an instructional strategy that's high on the John Hattie list of instructional strategies. Um, and what it does is puts the students in the driver's seat. So you can create parts of a concept map as you're starting out with students and scaffolding how to use concept maps, but really letting students be the decision makers on how they show you what they know. And I'm going to show you some examples. And not to say that graphic organizers are not a good thing to use, but graphic organizers represents really just one way. Um, and it's just a one size fits all, where concept mapping is letting the student be in charge of um, identifying, making connections between what they learned and what they're now learning. Um, so let me show you some examples, and then I'm going to show you how to create a concept map on bubble.us. So here's an example, and concept maps can be created by um, students, young students, as well as the older students. So here's just some examples for science. So you see that the key concept here is a plant, and then, or the main concept or focus question would be the plant, and then the key concepts would be the roots, and then you have the connectors here. And that's when I'm going to show you the three parts to concept mapping. And here's another science one. This is hierarchical. So you have the water here, and then you have the connectors, the key concepts here. And then that can be broken down even further. So imagine using a tool like this and you putting just a focus question here or just a concept and the student having to fill it out however it makes sense to them. That could be a great formative assessment tool for you to see if they're really understanding, and also it's creating higher level thinking for the students. Here's another one for science. I do have examples for other content areas. So here is Shakespeare. So think about your next lesson or something maybe that you want to do next year, and think about how you can use concept mapping to get students to think at a higher level. Here is a Shakespeare example where maybe you put the focus question there, and then they have to create a concept map based on the requirements of understanding love in Shakespeare's tragedy, Romeo and Juliet. And then here is another example of the parts of a speech. So again, you can see that this would be the focus question or the main idea or the topic. And then these are the key objectives. And then you have the connectors. And this could be something where you can differentiate too. So maybe you have more of this filled in for students that need extra help, and then less of it filled in for the students who need to be challenged a little bit more. Okay, I have an example here for graphing functions. So think about in your math classroom, it doesn't always have, you don't always just solve problems, you're talking about concepts and how they relate to each other. Here's another example. So maybe you have just this idea in here filled out, and then you have them create a concept map of all the concepts involved in this topic area. Here's one on social studies or history. And here's another example. Okay, so there are examples. This will be downloaded so you can take a look at that later, or you can just Google examples for an area that you are thinking about using a concept map. So I'm going to show you how to use this tool, bubble.us. It is a freemium, just like most tools. So you can see using one of 3 mind maps. Free accounts are limited to 3. This is just like Padlet. So if you create your mind maps, just delete one if you go over 3. You can also have students create an account so they can create their own mind maps. So I'm going to show you this mind map I created to illustrate the 3 parts of concept mapping. So you're starting with your focus question, something that maybe it's something that needs to be solved or a conclusion that needs to be reached. And then maybe you have your students create the key concepts here. Okay. And then these are the smaller, more specific key concepts. And notice I have this over here too. This is another one. Allow students to create their own using tech tools. So there's my connector. My tech tools are Bubble, Google Slides, Prezi. And then these linking phrases. So that's one I created to illustrate. Now we can go back to our mind maps and I'll show you. It's so easy to do. Your students will figure it out probably quicker than you do. So start here. So I'm going to use an example from the Bold School book. So if the teacher is delivering instruction of the central idea of form and function and how the different parts or structures of plants and animals relate to different functions. So students can select their animal. So let's say they just selected an animal here. And then their concept map will feature the organism in its entirety. So this animal would be featured in its entirety. So here's the animal, the main topic. And then along with branches to subtopics that visually demonstrate how the object can be broken down into separate structures with separate functions. So whatever your topic area is, you can create a concept map. And again, I showed you those examples. Here's a layout that you can choose to use here, or you can create your own. So I'm going to add a child. So this would be my key concept. And if I wanted to, I could enter there. This is my more specific. And you can move these around. So what it'll do, it'll move, but you have to scroll up and down. So let's say that I wanted to go here, and let's go here, and actually I want to move that down. Let's go here, and we can create another key concept. So it's really easy to do. What you need to do is just play around with it for a little bit. Have your students play around with it. Maybe May, after testing, is a good time to try these things out. Here's the connector that I was talking about. So you just click on that connector and it connects these things, or you can, it'll highlight the key concept that you were on, the bubble that you were on, and then you can connect it that way just by clicking on the other bubble. So again, you're just playing around with these, and If you want to do the key concept, create a connector here, you click on that and you can start typing in here. And if you want to, again, these things move around easily so you can play with them. This is, just have to get used to messing around with it. But imagine a student using this to show you what they know, okay? So this is really easy to use. Again, it's a free tool. Think of an area that you might want to use this concept map to create that higher level thinking for your students.